Alright, timestamp. It is March 31st, 2026, about 7:30 p.m. Pix came over, got all the financial stuff taken care of, got pretty much everybody paid. Check is either in the mail or gave them checks in person, got everything worked out. Um, Talked to my dad for probably about an hour. Pix went with me. I asked her to, just because it's getting harder and harder to go into that room. You know, for a few moments here and there, he knew who I was. For most of the conversation, he thought I was his cousin. I don't even know his cousin. And he told me that he wanted to move. He didn't want to be on Lawrence Street anymore. The traffic around the baseball field and Seaver and whatnot just gets too much, and he wants to go somewhere out in the country where he can garden and stuff. That's all stuff. That's all Allentown stuff. That's all PA stuff. That has nothing to do with anything from down here in Florida, where we've been for over 40 years. And you saw Sandy this morning. I'm not making this up. She was wearing, this is according to my dad, she was wearing like a pajamas or a robe or some kind of like white gown kind of thing. And she was trying to get him to come with her. He couldn't see anything. He couldn't see everything real clearly because it was just really bright, like around her and behind her. And then she went away, and he's not sure if she's coming back or not. He hopes that she likes her because they've been going out for a couple of years. They're not married or anything, but they've been seeing each other for 2 years. He knows she's not feeling good. Something's different. Something's different. But I didn't tell him. I just let him go with it. The last time we were there, he was more. This is a low bar, but he was more in the now than he was this last time. And on 3 times in a 40-minute conversation, he pressed me about where Mom was, and if he could go home and see Mom, she's got to be worried about him. She hadn't been by to visit or anything like that, so he was feeling kind of all on his own. 3 times in that conversation. And that was like early February. 3 times I'm just not going to do it anymore. I reminded him, told him, I don't know how to put it, that Mom had died in May. You know, that it had been almost 9 months, you know. And I watched him go through the grieving process for his wife, my mom, you know, 3 times in a 40-minute period, as though it was fresh news. I'm not doing it anymore. You know. So, yeah. I was gonna cook and do all that kind of stuff tonight. I just had some of the leftovers that was in the fridge. Dishes out, dishes in. You can probably get the dishwasher in the background. I made some of the vanilla macadamia coffee. Tiny's out. I think Alex is down. But I made some of the vanilla macadamia coffee. And because I need to see that right now. You know. With the stuff he was saying about Mom today, I don't know. You know, I've got my theories there, you know. And of course people are still taking his stuff. He'll come back to his house. He's got a double room where he is. We pay extra because of his condition. He's basically in a room that's supposed to be for 2 patients. They're not overbooked or anything, so it's not that big a deal. But we're still paying a little extra to have him in a private room, because we don't know how he'd react to a roommate. You know, with the idea that people keep stealing from him, it's probably not a good idea to tempt fate on that one. You know, that could be asking for a disaster. He's going to confront his roommate because, you know, his stuff got stolen. Which, I mean, you probably figured this out. I figured this out a long time ago. It's either stuff that he never had, or it's stuff that he misplaced. You know, 2 times today he showed us his slippers that he's wearing. And on one occasion, a guy at the gas station gave it to him because he was saying that his feet were cold, and the guy had those behind the counter, and he gave him those shoes because he said they'd keep his feet warm. And then later on in the conversation, some little woman somewhere here, you know, the facility gave him those. Those are the ones that Pix and I picked out and got for him from Walmart. One of the last times we brought him some stuff, that was what we brought him. I mean, some other stuff too, but he had mentioned that his feet were getting cold, so we got some nice, you know, like fuzzy house slipper kind of thing. So, guy at the gas station, little woman that was there, and it's like, just rolling with it. Okay, cool. As long as they're comfortable. Oh yeah, no, they're comfortable, they're warm, they feel good. They've got a rubber sole so I don't slip when the floor gets wet here. It's like, 'cause every now and then the floor gets, they clean the floor and you can't walk anywhere for like half an hour, the entire floor is wet. I'm like, well, you know, they gotta sanitize the place, Dad. And he's like, oh, I know. But you know, these other shoes, and whoop. Guy at the gas station. Some of the stuff, you know, it's like, does the guy at the gas station hand out articles of clothing to people in need? You know what I mean? It's like, this world that you're existing in, number one, I mean, we know that didn't happen. He hasn't been to a gas station in a long time. You know, possibly a year or so. You know, he's been there for 10 months, 11 months, almost 11 months. And he wasn't driving for a year or so before that. So, you know, maybe he may have walked down to the 7-Eleven, because there's a 7-Eleven not too far from the house. He may have walked down to the 7-Eleven, or maybe Chuck the Wonder Idiot. You know, they went to a gas station, but I'm pretty sure that the attendant wasn't handing out shoes. Sure. You know, and he was running a sale in his room, and he closed up for the day, and he turned around, and there were people in his room rooting through his private stuff, and not even the stuff he had for sale. You know, who does that? That's just rude. It's like, what were you selling, Dad? Oh, you know, I got stuff. Somebody took my metal lathe, though. It's like somebody took your metal lathe. And it's funny because Pix actually got kind of invested. She's like, "Your metal lathe? What metal lathe? Was that in your bag?" And I'm like, "Honey, there's no way the metal lathe was in his bag. It's a pretty big piece of equipment." And then she caught on. She's like, "Wait, a lathe for metal? Oh, he doesn't have a metal lathe here." You know, it was kind of that whole, wait, what? I know where his metal lathe is, and it's in the workshop, buried under a bunch of other debris that he piled on top of it. So at some point it may have gone missing while he was here. It's still there, it's just under other junk that you've thrown on top, but I just let it be. Your metal lathe is missing? Okay, we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep an eye out for it. And it's pretty big. How'd they get out of here? I don't know. I don't know, but they did. It was right over there. At that point, Pix is like, the metal lathe was right over. Okay. On the other side of the other bed? Yeah. Okay. I don't normally allow people in assisted living facilities to have metal lathes in their bedrooms. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. They also took away his sawzall. Also his 4-ton press. Kept putting the other patient's dentures in it and just dropping it. Can I get through, Fred? No? Okay. Cookie time, Tim. That's right, jump over him. Ready? Nice, good job. Circus dog's that thing right out of my hand. So not used to little dogs. He's got gazills. So, mostly watching videos, chilling out, and just letting my brain digest what I not only witnessed but was part of. Kind of a neat moment when we were leaving, though, because he grabbed my hand, grabbed my arm. It's like, "I'm so glad you came by. I missed you." It's like, "You know who I am?" He's like, "Of course I do. You're my son." Okay. He's like, "You've gotten so tall." My dad's shrunk a couple inches. Also for reference. Because he was 5'7", pretty much like me, and now he's probably like 5'5". Maybe just hunches, I don't know. But I playfully pat him on the head, and I'm like, "Actually, I just think you shrunk a little bit." And he got this look in his eyes. He was like, "That may be true. That may be true. I don't know." Yeah, he wants to leave Lawrence Street because the backyard, the house is on a hill, so the backyard just kind of whoop, goes way down. It's hard. You can't really set up tables and do even like container gardening back there, which I expect would have been true. But having spent my early days at the house on Lawrence Street, I know about the whoop hill because a couple months of the year that was some good sledding. And when it evens out, we had a cornfield, and that right there, because the corn will like wither up and whatnot and like become little dead stalks that'll spring back pretty much. If you've been around corn country, you know this one. When that gets covered in snow, the slope part is a lot of fun on the sled, and then you start going across this field because you get the momentum on the hill. You start going across this field that is kind of like going across like a large-scale bed of nails. So if you can thread the needle and go in between, you might be okay. But if you go off to the side just that little bit, because the corn's in rows, so it's little spikes under the snow in lines. It's fun and also terrifying. And if you hit one of those right out, I mean, the whole thing is just... Yeah, forget about your teeth and your spine. You leave them 50 yards back, pretty much. Just right out of the body. This is pile of gelatin flesh by the time the sled comes to a complete stop. And we had those big, like, Frisbee sleds. It's like a giant plastic trash can lid with ropes on the side. Yeah, it's like a plastic dinner plate that you can basically ride on that has ropes on the outsides. So you're like, yeah. You can kind of steer, and those corn stalks will help you steer a little bit. Because you hit them just right, and you're going off to the side a little bit. Harrowing. Not the brown sugar put in your arm thing. Harrowing. In a, oh my God kind of way, Good times. I know, Janus. Yeah, great fun, but also many bumps and bruises. Because, yeah, you hit it just right, and you're going to go flying like Charlie Brown. Sled will go into the air, and you will be going back that way. Hopefully you don't land on, the stakes that are sticking out of the ground. But they're corn flavored. Yeah, it's been a long time since Lawrence Street. Yeah, I was a kid when we moved down here. Yeah. There's a baseball field not too far away from the house. Don't even know if it's still there because it's been, 40 plus years. No idea. We have a tendency to pave paradise and put up a parking lot, so I don't know. But he's still there, or he's gone back there, And Sandy visited him this morning in a white gown or pajamas or something, and a really bright light behind her. I know what that sounds like to me. You can believe what you want. He thinks she's still alive. And the picture that paints is a very much not alive person who is beckoning him to go to the light. I got a feeling about that. You know? And there were times he recognized Pix and other times that he didn't. He did talk about his daughter Kelly. Which was cool, fondly, you know. He's never called her his daughter before. You know, in past, it was my daughter-in-law or my son's wife, Kelly. It was never my daughter. It's pretty cool. And she was sitting next to me on the other bed, and I heard her give a little intake gasp when he said it. And she started to cry a little bit. Kept it cool, you know. It's kind of, you know, that kind of thing. We spent 3 years pretty much being disowned because his brain made us the villains. So him having just that recollection of us fondly, you know, it's nice. I don't expect an apology for any of it. And with the way both my parents' brains are, I wouldn't get it anyway. I mean, my mom kind of apologized to me during the last month or so that she was in the hospital, you know, before she died. I think she had a couple lucid moments where she realized, oh wow, I really screwed things up, didn't I? You know. She even said something similar to that on one occasion. It was kind of I made a real mess of things. It's like, I'm not going to candy coat it. Yeah, Mom, you and Dad both did make a real mess of things. And I'm kind of the guy with the mop. She was like, you know, you're going to have to handle it. Because we can't. You're going to have to do it. I'm like, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I already knew that I was going to. I'm just hoping you guys didn't screw me. Which actually, that's another thing. I looked up in doing the financial stuff. One of the things that I was concerned about, and this is going to seem very petty and mercenary, but in the spirit of Malcolm Reynolds, I did the job, I do want to get paid. You know, I walked away from a really good job on the promise that they had my back, and then they had my back and then went, you know, into it. I even told Mom, I'm like, you guys screw me over on this. You're worried about your legacy. Your grand, your great-grand, your great-great-grand, they'll know who you are, and there will be family stories about you, and they will not end nicely. And she's like, no, I understand that. I'm like, so if you guys did any manipulation to where I wind up, you know, getting you guys, honestly, we were talking very frankly, I'm like, you know, we spend our time getting you guys in the ground, because you're both dying right now, and you know that. And I wind up on the other side penniless because I went to bat for you. Oh, there will be songs written about you, but they won't be happy songs. And she's like, we did not do anything. We did not do anything to do that. I'm like, okay. But at the same time, with the dementia, because they were both having a cognitive decline, I was a little like, am I going through all this just to get, you know, shafted at the end? Because, like with my dad, he was so dead set on the idea that, you know, Pix and me and my kids, we were breaking into the place and, you know, stealing things that were still there. You know, I've told you this 100 times. You know, we were partially worried that, you know, he'd see a commercial on Fox and be like, I'm leaving all my stuff to the Trump Foundation because he's a good man. My son's awful, you know, that kind of brainwashing. But I saw some of the other paperwork from the financial place, and I'm still on there. So like, okay, well, I'm still going to do everything I can for my dad. That doesn't change anything. And it wouldn't have changed anything, but it would have made me a lot more resentful. You know, hey, cool, I'm sacrificed, 3 or 4 years of my life and walked away from a career so that you could send Donald Trump your money. Okay, that's nice. That'll help him in court. You get me. You probably get me. If you've watched this far, you probably have a pretty good feel for me. Or maybe they penciled in Chuck the Wonder Idiot. I've got wills and stuff, but it's complicated. The court gets involved and all that. Chuck and I had nothing to do with it, but Chuck is dead. So I still don't know what happened there. That's still weird to me. Because I saw him like 3 weeks before and he seemed okay. But being an opportunist, I'm wondering if he did rip my dad off. And I don't know, I'm not trying to speak ill of the dad, I really just don't know. If as an opportunist he did rip my dad off, and I'm willing to bet he had friends who were opportunists, if he was showing off some of the things that he opportunized, and they were like, not traceable, huh? It could have been a heart attack in his sleep. Then again, maybe one of his rat-like friends, went all gangsta on him. Hey, that's some nice stuff you got there. Nobody knows you got it. Cool. Pew, pew. I don't know. I met a few people that he frequented, hung out with, whatnot, and they belong in your circle of friends. Yep. Mm-hmm. Color me shocked. So, there was the possibility that he had, schmoozed up to my parents and were like, yeah, your son sucks, doesn't he? I bet he did take all that stuff from you. Hey, sign here and initial here. Okay, that'll do it. I just gotta send this out. It's to make sure you're okay medically. Cause I'm doing stuff for you because your son's not here. I don't know. I allowed him to lie in front of quite a few doctors and whatnot. Because they already knew the answer, and they allowed him to keep talking, and I didn't stop my enemy while he was making a mistake. The teachings of Sun Tzu. And I had doctors look at me and go, yep, everything you said. There you go. Yep, none of that's true. You can leave now, That kind of situation. Hence, the Wonder Idiot. I also just had a bowl, small bowl, not overdoing it, of mint chocolate chip ice cream. Been craving it lately. But after a day like this, some of the vanilla macadamia coffee and some mint chocolate chip ice cream. Yep. I'm probably going to bed here in a little while. Got up early. It's not even 8 o'clock p.m., but I'll get in. It'll be April 1st. Get a fresh start in the new month. Full moon, too, apparently. I got a couple of my major mission points done, so it's a lot of stress off of me. Oh man, that's good, because there was a lot of stress. So I'm thinking, if I don't get the financial stuff taken care of for my dad, we're actually going to be, it will be April and we won't have paid for March. It's the ugly truth of it. I didn't want to say it out loud too much because I didn't want to give it any power, if you know what I mean. So You know, the idea of they could turf my dad. You know, you were here for an entire month, nobody paid. Let's get him an Uber, you know. We'll back bill that. So I was able to go in there and pay for March, any and all late fees, and also paid for April. It's a nice feeling. So yeah, I mean, I was able to kind of get the gates open from a financial standpoint, which is important. Still some other things I got to work out, but being able to get access to it, and I can't just get access to it, I can't, you know. We're going to the mall. I'm going to the Skechers store. Gonna get a couple pairs of shoes. Can't do that. Unless I was getting shoes for my dad, and then I could get him pairs of shoes. You know, it's not my money, but being able to actually access it to take care of him, huge important. So got March taken care of basically at the wire, and took care of April ahead of time. Which buys me a lot of grace as far as getting the other stuff worked out, which that's going to be next week. We're going to be doing a lot of Pix and a lot of the admin stuff, trying to get some of the Social Security stuff worked out, some other stuff with the VA, because we're still waiting to get him placed in a VA home, because I know he'd be happier, you know, in whatever way he can be happier, that would make him happier, I'm sure. He's just so lost. I did tell him that if Mom came by and wanted him to go with her, that it was okay. He was like, well, she disappeared on me last time. I'm like, I'm just saying, if you're able to go with her, it's okay. It's okay. We got this. It's okay. Fix was kind of holding my arm at that point. We were sitting on the beds. You know, we were sitting on the bed opposite. And I felt her kind of squeeze my arm, kind of a, you know, because she understood what I was saying, and we were both on the same page, because when we left, when we got into the elevator, we both just started crying. You know, managed to hold it back until he pretty much couldn't see us. We got to the car, and she was like, did you just give him permission to? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I get it. She was like, he called me his daughter. I'm like, yeah. Yes, he did. He's so broken. Good, good. And while we were waiting for some of the financial stuff to clear, so I wasn't going to be writing rubber checks, went ahead and did the top coat. They're not perfect, you know, but I mean, this is like homemade dollhouse kind of stuff with the paint jobs and all that. They still look pretty good. And I managed to fill in the holes. Went ahead and did all 5 of the tops. Yeah, I may have to redo that one section there. This side over here, just that little strip, I might need to do a little bit on there. Doesn't quite have the same level of sheen as the rest of it. Yep, not Michael, not Robert. The Sheen is wrong. Yep. Give me a second. I didn't get a real chance to look at it. Looking pretty good. That one has that one little bar there. Yeah. And now with that done, yeah, it looks pretty good. It's got a little pocket in the same kind of area. I'll touch that up probably in the morning when I get up. Then I'm going to double check the legs and start doing a top coat on that. And my lounge tables will be done. Tomorrow I've already made my list. I got some foodstuffs to do. I need to fry up that chicken, get the red beans ready, rebag. I'm going to be using the plastic ice cream bins, the rectangular gallon ones, kind of almost cubic. But those are going to be, I think, they'll fit on the shelves out there. Those will be really good for storing dry beans in bags. Just about the right height, about the right depth. It's not like an airtight seal, but they're going to be in airtight bags, so and I can stack them like sandwich bags. They should fit about, maybe even quart bags. They should fit in there pretty well. I'll use brains. Yeah, those gallon plastic ice cream bins are just fantastic. Everyday storage kind of stuff. And they're free with all that ice cream. If you use them, wash them out really good. There's nothing more nasty than, really old dairy, exposed dairy product smell. That's one of the worst things out there. But yeah, when I don't use red bean for the chicken and red bean with rice, I will be rebagging, shaking them out and all that, and gonna start setting up bean storage. It's very exciting stuff. Riveting channel here, I know. Just ticking away at all the little projects, I think I just heard Kaiser do something awful in the living room. Appreciate that, buddy. Oh my God, that little cat. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here. I may touch those up before I go to bed, so they'll be dry in the morning. I'm going to enjoy my coffee a little bit more, because boy am I enjoying the coffee, especially after, the day. Oh dear God in heaven, yeah, Kaiser did something really awful. Or is doing something really awful. Apparently I'm not allowed to sew his butt short. I can't, apparently there are laws against it. It would really help mankind, though. Good Lord. Anybody need fertilizer? No? Okay. Yep. So, yeah. Hug your parents. Hug your kids. And make it a great day.